Welcome back. So we're going to go back to the problem that we discussed in the previous video about variables, where we wanted to swap the values of two variables. To refresh your memory, this is the exact problem we were talking about. You have a variable called my variable, another one called your variable. They each have a value. The first one has a value of 44, the second one has the value of 22. I asked you to write a little piece of Python code which could swap these two variables. I hope you had a chance to think about the problem before continuing with this video. So let's see how we will solve this. Now, if you, like many people who are beginning programming, if you wrote something like this, where you said, okay, in this case, this is the variable, my variables initiated with a value 44, your variable is initiated with a value 22, you print these values out, my variable and your variable. And let's say in between these two green comments is what your code looks like. So your code might not exactly look like this, but it is some version of this. You say, my variable should be assigned to the value of your variable, and your variable should be assigned to the value of my variable. That's where your code ends. That swaps these two things, and then you print it again just to make sure that the values have actually changed. Now, if you've done something similar to this or something exactly like this, you've done what most beginning programmers do, right? And as you can almost tell by my tone, that is not the right answer. So what happens if you execute this code? You get something like this. You see, you get the value 44 and 22, which is the output of the first print statement here. Print my variable 44, your variable 22. Then after the swap or the supposed swap instructions, we use the same print statement to output the values of the variables again. And you see that you get 22 and 22. You lost 44 here. So let's understand why this actually happened. Again, if we modify the problem slightly, I think you might get an intuition as to why the old code, the one that we just saw, was wrong. So let's say instead of having variables with a name, my variable and your variable, we change the name of our variables and change the values. We say, instead of saying my variable, I will say my drink, and your variable, will say your drink. Now imagine I'm drinking cocoa and you're drinking a berry smoothie, and we want to swap these drinks. It is exactly similar to the old problem, but there is a slight change which hopefully kind of gives you a hint as to what was missing in the last piece of code. To make this idea even clearer, let's take a look at a similar example with a different picture. How about this? As we know, we discussed in the last video, memory, a variable is nothing but a placeholder for data in memory. A cup is nothing but a placeholder for the drink. So let's say my drink is cocoa, your drink is strawberry, and we have to swap these. Now if you go back to the code we saw in the beginning, we just said whatever is in my drink, put it in your drink. We forgot something, and when you look at it as drinks, you intuitively know that we are missing something. We can't just pour the contents of this drink into the other. We need an empty cup. Without an empty cup, swapping two drinks is impossible, and that's what we were trying to do by swapping the variables. And I think this is another point in the video where if you followed along with me so far, I would encourage you to pause the video, go back to your IDE and see if you can change your original code to make the swap happen for real this time. So we will move on and now look at how can we introduce this concept of an empty cup. A cup is a variable, so this is what the real code would look like. You would say, this is what the correct code would look like. You would say my variable, your variable, exact same 3 lines as the wrong solution, but we've created this new variable here, the temp variable. this is serving as the empty cup. Because this was empty, we will assign the value of your variable to it. Then we will take your variable and give it the value of my variable. And then to my variable, we will assign the temp variable. So basically, temp variable was our empty cup. We poured the strawberry drink into the empty cup. Then the cup that was holding the strawberry drink now holds cocoa. And then the cup that was previously holding cocoa will get whatever was stored in the new empty cup, which was the strawberry. And when you print it this time, you will see that the values have indeed been swapped. So once again, swapping two variables sounds, super simple. I'll just assign the value of one to the other. However, you need to realize that these are variables which are actually containers which contain data. If you just assign them directly, then one will overwrite the other. Just like you cannot, put a drink in a cup that's already full. Exactly like that, you need to create a separate variable which has no value of use stored in it, and then use it to make the swap possible. I hope that video made sense. This is a very common problem, but it does do a service of making you think about exactly what variables are, rather than just listening to a canned definition of what a variable is and why you should think about using it, etc. All right, that's it for this video. I will see you in the next one.